But I'm really delighted on behalf of our over 8,000 students, our 204 and counting dedicated, spectacular full-time faculty, or many, many adjuncts who do such good work for us, or administrators and or staff. I'm really delighted to welcome you to another one in the series of our Executive Leadership Breakfast. This is a tradition we started in 2005 in the fall when we thought it was a good idea to help to position York College to continue to serve its community by bringing opinion makers to the college. And so, Ms. Harris, I want you to know, I guess she stepped out for a minute, and that's okay. I wanted her to know that she joins a distinguished group of people who have used this podium to opine on anything they like, but usually, very often, on issues which matter to us as a community here in Jamaica, here in Queens, here in New York City. And I'm particularly delighted to welcome Ms. Harris this morning because we have so many students who are looking to a future in business, in finance. There's some actually in the pharmaceutical sciences. I think we probably have some nurses and some college lab technicians in the house, and some pharmaceutical science students also, but who are looking to a future. And I know that the message that you will hear will be inspiring, and I'm saying to you students, please pay attention so I can turn to you for the first and maybe second question once Ms. Harris has completed her talk. I was just saying, Ms. Harris, that you join a distinguished group of individuals who since 2005 have graced us with their presence and used this platform. And they include people like our Congressman, Greg Meeks, who came just after the Katrina disaster to talk about disaster preparedness and how we could look to the future and try to manage things differently. We've had the CEO of JetBlue, David Neeleman, who's joined us. As some of you know, we have an aviation program, aviation management program here, and I'm grateful to the continuing relationship with JetBlue. We want to thank them for their sponsorship of this breakfast over many years and today's breakfast, as well as their sponsorship of our students on many, many, many occasions. You join also the MTA chairman, former MTA chairman Jay Walder, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Major League Baseball, Jonathan Mariner, Consolidated Edison CEO, Kevin Burke, Editor-in-Chief of the New York Amsterdam News, Eleanor Tatum, former New York City Council Speaker, Christine Quinn, and many others. We really have had quite a panoply of important people here. I do want to just do a special note of thanks, Mr. Hodge, because you were the connector who brought Ms. Harris to us. So thanks, Michelle, for connecting, right, and bringing us our speaker today. Let me just acknowledge a few members of the audience who are such loyal supporters of your college. I want to, our former Councilman Archie Spingner is here. Many loyal alumni are in the room. Our very, very good friend, Philippa Carteret, is in the house. Members of our advisory board are in the house. Certainly, our foundation board chair, Ms. Michelle Chow Tai, and longtime foundation member, Mr. Patrick Lespinis, are in the house. They help us to fundraise in behalf of our students. And I just want to say to all who have come, our faculty, our really, really phenomenal faculty and friends, thanks for joining us. It's been a long winter. We're glad that we're celebrating spring. It's a productive spring semester here at York College. Our students, supported by world-class faculty, have remained engaged and they're succeeding in their studies. We're looking forward to a commencement coming up. It's going to be a different commencement. We used to do just one. Now we're doing 3 because we want to try to do it on campus, and we want to do it under hospitable circumstances. So we're using our own performing arts center rather than going off, either going off campus or doing it in the blazing sun. So I hope that it will work for us. But our students are really succeeding, and we're proud of them. On April 24th, if you were to come to the campus, you will see over 200 students celebrating the 5th annual Undergraduate Research Day, when they will present the research that they have been doing with their faculty. And this research cuts right across all of the curriculum. I'm also proud of our social work students who joined me recently in an advocacy day in Albany. They were led by Dr. Selena Rogers, one of their professors, and they joined us to lobby around social policy issues, but they also joined us to lobby to see if we can get the dollars we need to build our academic village and conference center, which will be housed right across the street here. It will be a 9-story building, 160,000 square feet. It will be anchored by our business school, but it will also provide lots of affinity spaces for students. It will provide our front door for admissions, for registrar and financial aid, and will provide a much-needed conference center that will not only serve us at York, but it will also serve the community. We know that the Assembly has put $50 million in the bill for that down payment on $250 million, which we will need. We are working with our friends and colleagues in Albany to assure that that happens, and we hope to have that academic village built soon so that our students can enjoy a state-of-the-art campus for the business school, and that building, when built, will really change the face of Jamaica in some very interesting ways. So I just want you to know that our social work students were up in Albany helping to get that message out. I do want to acknowledge our councilman, who's, and now I'm going to forget your name, right? Ruben Wells, who has joined us. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the support that you've given us over the years. And I know that you don't have a vote up in Albany, but I know you know some people who may spend a little time up there. So that $50 million that's in there, see if they can keep it in there for me. Yeah, no, I see that gentleman too. So, also pleased to tell you, and I see that Ron St. John, our coach, is not in the house, but our student, our CUNYX, our men's basketball team won the CUNY basketball men's this year. You know, I'm so excited, I don't remember what they won, but the CUNY Athletics Conference this year, and it was a very exciting game. And they beat the team that came in with a 16-0 record. And I said, wow, our men's basketball game. And they went on in the post-conference game and did quite well. Before I turn the mic over, I do want to close on a note of asking. No college president worth their salt gets an audience like this and doesn't do an ask. So forgive me, Ms. Harris, if I ask before you get introduced. You have a little brochure on your table where futures take flight. And it tells a little bit of who our students are and what our mission is. And it is my duty to say to you, not today, not tomorrow, but when you can, to take a look at that and to see whether it is possible for you to give a small, medium-sized, or large gift to this institution. That gift will provide some of the bonus opportunities that we believe we do quite well here at York to help our students take flight. And just yesterday at the Dean's List reception, where we honored some 700 or so students, we got another example of the kind of student whose life was transformed by the people and the programs here at York College. Dr. Vanessa Crevcoeur Ducasse came to us as a student who needed remediation in English. She was a foreign speaker. She spoke French. And she came to us, entered in a program called Preludes for Success. This is her story as she tells it. Mastered her language skills in English, right, because she already spoke French and Creole. And then she became interested in chemistry through the influence of some faculty members, Dr. Ruel Desamero in particular. After spending 4 years at York, she had an opportunity to do research. She had an opportunity to present at conferences. She graduated. She received a Merck Scholarship, went on to Yale University, has completed her PhD, is now doing a postdoctorate in research at Yale, and she came back yesterday to inspire some other students. And that's the kind of transformation that we are doing. And so, if you can, and when you can, a small gift, a moderate gift, a generous gift to York will continue to transform lives. So now to the main course, ladies and gentlemen. Let me invite our own Professor Phoebe Massimino to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, President Keyes. Good morning. I'm Phoebe Massimino, and it is truly, truly my honor to introduce such an accomplished guest speaker, Carla Harris. Carla Harris is Vice Chairman, Global Wealth Management, Managing Director, and Senior Client Advisor at Morgan Stanley. She is responsible for increasing client connectivity and penetration to enhance revenue generation across the firm. She formerly headed the Emerging Manager Platform, the equity capital markets effort for the consumer and retail industries, and was responsible for equity private placements. In August 2013, she was appointed by President Barack Obama to chair the National Women's Business Council. Ms. Harris was recently named Fortune magazine's list of the top 50 most powerful Black executives in corporate America, U.S. Banker's top 25 most powerful women in finance for 3 years, and Essence magazine's list of the top 50 women who are shaping the world. Ms. Harris began her career at Morgan Stanley in the Mergers Acquisitions Department in 1987. Prior to joining Morgan Stanley, she received her bachelor's degree in economics with honors from Harvard University, magna cum laude, and received her MBA from Harvard as well. Okay. Carla Harris is actively involved in her community and heartily believes that we are blessed so that we can be a blessing to someone else. In her other life, Carla Harris is a singer and released her third gospel CD, Unceasing Praise. Her second CD was a gospel album entitled Joy is Waiting and was featured on BET Nightly News, while her first CD, entitled Carla's First Christmas, was featured on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. She is currently the author of a recently released book, Expect to Win, published by Hudson Press. It is with absolute joy that I introduce our guest speaker, our distinguished guest speaker, Carla Harris.
Thank you, Professor Massimino, for that introduction. And good morning, York College. I don't usually stand behind a podium here because I can move around, but let me just try something. The lady over here in the purple, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, let me try it again. The lady over there in the pink, can you hear me? Yes. All righty, can I do it without the mic at the podium? Yes. All right, excellent. Well, I only have a few minutes this morning, so let me get right into it. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I am, especially to see all the students. I am so excited for you all because you have an amazing journey in front of you. And trust me, if I could train places with you right now, I would do it in a heartbeat. Now, thank you. Mind you, I'd like to go back a little bit of what I know now. However, I'm so excited for what you have in front of you, and I am so excited to be able to share some of the things that I have learned after being on Wall Street for 26 and a half years. Yeah, wow. I will tell you, I have learned a few things about not only surviving, but more importantly, thriving in the seat that you sit in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. And that's what I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about this morning. I had the privilege of writing a book in 2009, as you just heard, called Expect to Win. And since I wrote the book, I've had the privilege of speaking all over the world, but most often in Fortune 500 companies, college campuses like this, professional conferences, and over and over and over, people ask me, why did you write that book? Why are you so honest about everything that happened in your career? And I will tell you why. That when I sat in your chairs and when I walked out of the lauded halls of Harvard undergrad and Harvard Business School, I embraced this whole concept of a meritocracy. Success was merely a function of how smart you were and how hard you worked. Yet, when I started my career, it didn't quite work out that way. You see, I thought I was pretty smart. As you just heard, magna cum laude, Harvard undergrad, second-year honors, Harvard Business School, pretty smart, right? Right? I am from the South, so I knew there were very few of those boys in the Northeast that could outwork me. Yet, again, that combination did not equal maximizing my success. So I had to ask myself, what's missing in that success equation? So being the anal person that I am, I went to the dictionary and I looked up the word meritocracy. And I don't care whose dictionary you go to, if you look up the word meritocracy, you will see the word objective somewhere in that definition. Yet, in all of our evaluative equations, there is a human element. And if there is a human element, by definition, it is subjective. It cannot be 100% meritocratic. So what are some of those other things that really inform your success equation and really make the difference between your surviving and your thriving in the seat that you sit in or the seat that you aspire to sit in? And that's really what Carlos Pearls are all about. Now, I'm sure Michelle told you all that after being on the street for 26 and a half years, I am an seasoned deal-making gal. So can I make a deal with you this morning, York? That I will agree to tell you exactly how it is if you will agree to ask me anything that's on your mind when we get to Q&A. Do we have a deal? Yes. Okay. This morning we have time for me to give you 4 of the pearls, so here goes. The first one, and it is the most important thing that I learned, so do not be fooled if you read Expect to Win and you see that it is chapter 4, because it is the most important thing that I learned after 2.5 decades on the street, and that is perception is the co-pilot to reality. How people perceive you will directly impact how they deal with you. Yes, the reality of how smart you are has something to do with your success equation. The reality of how hard you work has something to do with your success equation. But a very big component of your success equation is the perception that the marketplace has about you. What lens are they looking through when they are looking at you? And if you want to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in, it is imperative that you understand the adjectives that are associated with success for the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. If you don't understand the adjectives that are associated with success, you can work really hard, but you won't maximize your success in that seat because you're working in a way that is inconsistent with how they think about success and inconsistent with what they value. If you would like to manage a large group of people, but you are not perceived as being motivational, inspirational, or organized, it doesn't matter that you can do it. It doesn't even matter that you did do it. You won't get the opportunity to do it if you're not perceived as such. If you would like to manage a large P&L, but you are not perceived as being analytical, quantitative, or strategic, doesn't matter that you can. Doesn't even matter that you did. You won't get the opportunity to do that if you're not perceived as such. Now, people say to me all the time, well, Carla, I am who I am. I can't make anybody think about me in a certain way. If you remember nothing else about our conversation this morning, remember that you can train people to think about you in the way that you want them to think about you. And how do you do that? You pick 3 adjectives that you would like people to use to describe you when you are not in the room. And why do I say when you're not in the room? It's because all of the important decisions about your career will be made when you are not in the room. Compensation decisions will be made when you're not in the room. Promotion decisions will be made when you're not in the room. And new assignments will be given out when you are not in the room. So how do you want people to describe you when you're not in the room? Pick 3 adjectives that are absolutely consistent with who you really are, because I'm a big fan of the authenticity point. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you. It is your distinct competitive advantage. So pick 3 adjectives that are absolutely consistent with who you really are. However, pick 3 adjectives that are also valued in your organization. And if you don't know what's valued in your organization, you can go to the organization's website. There isn't an organization today that doesn't describe itself or its values on its website. And if they don't, think about what they told you when they hired you. Oh, Millicent, we hired you for the following 2 reasons. Oh, Michael, you beat out those 2 candidates for these 3 reasons. They told you then what they valued about you. So the trick is to continue to improve upon that which they value. The 3 adjectives that are absolutely consistent with who you really are, the 3 adjectives that are valued in your organization, where they intersect is how you must behave consistently if you want to train people to think about you in a certain way. Consistent behavior around those 3 adjectives. And my big aha, and the story I love to tell, and my friends have heard me tell this story dozens of times, but every time that I have the privilege and the honor of speaking in front of a group of people, I tell this story because it was indeed my aha moment. 5 to 6 years into my career, I had a very senior managing director say to me, you know, you're smart, you work hard, but I don't think you're tough enough for this business. Now, my first reaction is, what? You can call Carla Harris a lot of things, but ain't tough ain't one of them. But then I said, wait a minute. Suppose this guy is not pulling my leg. Suppose he really doesn't think that I'm tough enough for this business. And ladies and gentlemen, as you might imagine, the last thing that you want to be thought of as a woman on Wall Street is not tough. So after he gave me that feedback, I said, okay, I know what I'll do. For 90 days, I decided I would walk tough, talk tough, eat tough, drink tough, use tough in my language. It's important that if you want to train people to think about you in a certain way, you must have consistent behavior around those 3 adjectives. And you must use this language in your environment, particularly when you are talking about yourself. So I had a reputation of being very good at critiquing management presentations, so much so that before we would take a company on the road for a multi-billion-dollar IPO or a multi-hundred-million-dollar common stock transaction, my colleagues would often ask me to come into the room and listen to that CEO's presentation and give that CEO some feedback, even when it was not my deal. So the next time someone asked me to do that, after I had gotten that feedback, I said, wait a minute. Tell me a little bit about this CEO. Is this guy sensitive? Does he have a thin skin? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because you know I'm tough. I kept using this language over and over and over to describe myself. And sure enough, in about 90 days, it worked. I had a team of people coming to see me. They didn't know I was behind them. The VP was beating up the poor associate. Do you have the backup analysis? Do you have the synergy analysis? We're going to see Carla Harris, and you know, she's so tough. So they will start to think about you in that way if you have consistent behavior around those three adjectives. But ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that you understand the adjectives that are associated with success for the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. If you are in a finance role, people better use words like analytical and quantitative to describe you. If you are in a marketing role, they better say that you are creative, out-of-the-box thinker. If you're in a sales role, they better use words like commercial, relationship-oriented. It's important that you understand those adjectives. And oh, by the way, you should always know what you are playing for. Whenever you exercise your power to walk into whatever job you choose, and you are exercising your power of choice to walk in there every day you should know what you're playing for. It should never be a mystery to you as to what it takes to get to the next pay scale or what it takes to get to the next promotion level. And so many of us walk into our jobs and we say, oh, I'm just gonna put my head down, I'm gonna work really hard, I'm gonna be loyal, they'll see that I'm working hard and that I'm loyal and everything will work out. And it doesn't work that way. Because if you are working in a way that's inconsistent with what they value, you will not maximize your success in that seat. So whenever you're going to work for someone for the first time, or you're changing departments, or you're going into a new company, never assume that you know what success looks like. Because whatever got you there won't keep you there. So you should always have the conversation with someone so that you understand what they value and how they're thinking about success. And the conversation goes like this: Jim, what needs to happen in order for you to say I knocked the cover off the ball and the ball out of the park? If Jim says, Mary, you do the following 5 things, and I will consider that an out-of-the-box performance. Now, Mary, you know exactly what you're playing for. You know how to maximize your success on that project or in that seat. But more importantly, if Jim says, I don't know, Mary, you always do a good job, just do what you always do. Mary, note to self, Houston, we have a problem. Because if Jim can't tell you what success looks like, you will never be able to maximize your success in that role, because success is always shifting. And that will make your performance vulnerable to outside influences on Jim. So if Jim can't tell you what success looks like, you should say, Jim, you're not sure what success looks like? Give me 10 minutes. I got a pretty good idea of what I think an out-of-the-box performance looks like on this project. And you tell me what you like and what you don't like. And after those 10 minutes, Mary, now you know exactly what you're playing for. You know how to maximize your success in that role. And my final point on this pearl, the same pearl will apply, especially for you young folks who are out here looking for a job. There are very few jobs where your prerequisite experience is the dominant factor in your getting that job. The key to a successful interview is to understand what the buyer is really buying and to be able to sell that buyer what they're really buying. The only thing that I had on my resume when I got my first Wall Street job was McDonald's. McDonald's. Now you might say, what does flipping hamburgers have to do with selling stocks and bonds? But when I sat in that interview chair, I explained to the interviewer that I was made crew member of the month while I was still on probation. So for those of you who know McDonald's, you know you don't really have the job till after 90 days. They put you on probation. I was made crew member of the month while I was still on probation. I consistently had the highest grossing register every night. I was made a manager while I was still in high school, and I won the prize for suggesting sales. You know, when you go to McDonald's, you say, can I have a Big Mac? Somebody will say, can I get you a large order fry? I would always say, can I get you an apple pie with that? So I won the prize for suggesting sales. What did that say to the interviewer? Wow, she really likes to win. She's well respected by her peers, and she knows how to penetrate client thought. What do you have to do to be successful on Wall Street? You have to know how to penetrate client thought. You have to be well respected by your peers and your clients, and you need to have an appetite for winning. They could teach me about stocks and bonds. What the buyer was really buying were those other attributes. So the key to a successful interview, find out what the key success factors are for that particular seat, what the adjectives are that are associated with a superstar in that seat, and then you talk about yourself using those adjectives, and you will get that job. The second pearl that I want to leave you with is if you consider yourself a leader in the 21st century, you must be comfortable taking risks. You must be comfortable taking risks. 15 years ago, you could create a competitive differential for yourself if you had information that other people didn't have. But today, information is a commodity. So the way that you can show that you're comfortable and that you're a leader is to show that you're comfortable taking risks. But interestingly enough, since 2009, in the financial crisis, all I've been hearing from people everywhere I go is keep your head down, keep your head down, don't rock the boat. 8% unemployment, now 6.6% unemployment. We're having our third reduction in force. We're having our second restructuring. Just keep your head down. Well, York College, I'm here to tell you that keeping your head down will not keep you from getting shot. So as I like to say, you might as well keep your head up so you can see the bullet coming down. I say that in jest because what I'm really telling you is that when we are in environments like we have been in for the last 5 or 6 years and everybody else is besieged with fear and everybody else is ducking, you have clear vision. You have clear vision to see the opportunity. This is exactly the kind of environment where you can markedly accelerate your success, no matter what your organization looks like. Now is not the time to keep your head down because the issue with keeping your head down is that you submerge your voice. And your voice is at the heart of your power. And when you submerge your voice, you become irrelevant. And when you become irrelevant, you put a big target on the front and a big target on the back. Now is the time to say, oh, I know that we're trying to cut costs. I have 2 thoughts about how we should do that. I know we're trying to maintain profitability. I have 3 thoughts about how we should do that. We now have 2 people doing the same job that 8 people were doing. Sounds like a process redesign. I'd like to take that on. Translation to management, boy, she's not worried about the layoffs. He's not worried about losing his job. She's trying to put points on the board. He's trying to move the ball down the field. He, she is a keeper. But when I ask myself why we don't take more risks, the only thing I can come up with is that we're scared. We're just scared. It's fear. And York College, hear me clearly. Fear has no place in your success equation. Fear has no place in your success equation. Anytime you approach anything in your life, personally or professionally, from a position of fear, you will always underpenetrate that opportunity. And anytime I feel it creeping up the back of my neck, I just remind myself of that old saying, fear is just false evidence of things appearing real. It's really not there. Because what's the worst that can happen if you take a risk and it doesn't work out? So you fail. But guess what? Failure always brings you a gift. And that gift is called experience. Now you know how to do it better. Now you know how to do it differently. Now you know how to do it successfully. At the margin, it is always worth taking the risk. And in these kinds of environments, many of us will be shown new opportunities. And if you're not sure whether or not you should take the risk to go after this new opportunity, ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, will the new thing give you skills and experiences that you would not get if you stayed in your current seat another 12 months? Second question, will the new thing expose you to people, relationships, and networks that you would not get if you stayed in your current seat another 12 months? Third question, will the new thing create new branches on your personal decision tree of opportunity, i.e. you could go off and do some other things that you wouldn't have been able to do if you had stayed in your current seat another 12 months? If the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, you should absolutely take the risk. The third pearl I'm going to leave you with is that you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You will not be able to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in without having relationships. And the 3 that I write about in Expect to Win is the advisor, the mentor, and the sponsor. The advisor is the person that you can ask discreet questions of. Oh, Marvin, I'm going to be working with Dan. Can you introduce me to him before we start this project? Oh, Martha, I'm doing my first client presentation. Can you walk me through the table of contents? I want to make sure I don't miss any of our competitive arguments. Those are discreet questions that you can ask of an advisor. And the profile of an advisor in your environment is anybody that has the intellect or the experience to answer your discreet questions. The mentor, on the other hand, is the person that you can tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to. This is the person that you share the intimate details of your career with, your fears, your concerns, your mistakes, your triumphs, your strategies. I'm in this box, but I want to be in this box. Who do I need to work and how do I get there? This is the person that you can share the real deal details with. So the profile of a good mentor is somebody that knows you very well and somebody that you trust and somebody that understands your context that you're working in. Don't just choose someone and say, oh, Peter's been very successful, he's going to be my mentor. Because if he doesn't know you very well, he cannot be a great mentor. He can be an outstanding advisor. And oh, by the way, an advisory relationship can mature into a mentoring relationship. But if he doesn't know you very well, he cannot be an outstanding mentor. Because a mentor's job, and listen closely, is to give you tailored advice. Tailored specifically to you and to your career aspirations. If I know Gregory and I know Henry and they both want to become managing directors and I'm a good mentor, I will give them 2 different strategies because they are 2 different men. And my job is to give them tailored advice that they can successfully execute. Your mentor does not need to be within your organization, nor do they need to look like you, but they must understand your context. Now, as quiet as it's kept, you can survive a very long time in your career without a mentor. But you will not ascend in any organization without a sponsor. The sponsor is the most important of the 3 relationships. And young people, I did not understand this when I started in my career. It is the most important. And the sponsor is not the person you tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to. The sponsor is the person you tell the good, and the good. Because this is the person that is carrying your paper into the room. This is the person that behind closed doors will argue passionately on your behalf as to why you should get the great bonus, why you should get the promotion, why you should get the next great opportunity. Make no mistake, this person is spending their valuable political and social capital on you. So there needs to be a very good reason why they're spending this capital on you. And you need to be able to articulate why you are worthy of their spending that capital on you. And if you can't articulate why you are worthy, I will tell you to retreat from looking for a sponsor until you can articulate your own value proposition. And for those of you who are in the room who are currently employed and engaged, if you can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt who's carrying your paper into the room, I will tell you to divert some of your energies from working so hard to investing in a sponsor relationship, because it is critical to your ability to ascend in any organization. The last pearl that I'm going to leave you with is the most important component of anybody's success equation is an expectation that you will win. You have to know that you know that you know that everything that you have done heretofore has uniquely informed your ability to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. But if you want to maximize your success, you must exercise your power and use everything in your tool chest. And each of us has at least 3 things in common in our tool chest: your academic background, your experiential learning, and your network. And the one that I find that we consistently don't use aggressively is the network. You will not always have the right answer. You will not always have the best idea. But you know somebody in your network that has the answer or the access to a relationship that will allow you to successfully prosecute whatever you have in front of you. But most often, we don't want to use the network because we're afraid to ask someone for help. And generally, we're afraid to ask someone for help because we don't want to be exposed as not knowing that thing which we think everybody think we ought to know. Or we don't want to ask for help because we are afraid that someone will turn us down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask someone for help and they turn you down, there is only one word: next. Where one person won't, someone else will. You cannot allow one person's rejection stop you on your ascension to maximizing your success. And if you are uncomfortable using your network, the easiest way to get comfortable using your network is to put yourself in somebody else's way. Use your intellect and your influence on somebody else's behalf and watch how fast your network will work for you. Everybody in this room has power. Everybody in this room has power. You may not feel on some days that you have power, but you have power. You are uniquely designed to do something that somebody else cannot do and can do it better than someone else can. My last story for you, young man who I absolutely adore, summa cum laude from a great undergraduate institution, came to work at Morgan Stanley for 3 years, rated outstanding, did an international assignment, and then decided he wanted to go to one of those great business schools in the East. Called me up one day, he said, you know, I've applied, but I haven't heard anything. I know you know a few people. Can you check on my application? I said, absolutely. Picked up the phone, called the admissions director, I said, hey, I'm just calling to check on so-and-so today. She said, oh, funny you should call. We were just about to send out the reject letters. I said, oh no, wait a minute, let me go in. So I went into my sales page. And she said, you know, consider that you've done something great for someone today. We're going to give him an opportunity to interview. No guarantees that he gets in, but we'll let him tell his story because you've made great recommendations to us over the last decade. I said, thank you very much. I hung up, picked up the phone, called the candidate. You were right. You were just about to get dinged. But you're going to get an opportunity to tell your story, and I want you to leave it on the floor. Leave it on the floor. 4 days later, the admissions director calls me. She said, I saw your candidate. I said, and? She said, loved him. Loved him. He's in. You can let him know if you like. I said, oh no, I would never take away that thrill of getting that call from your institution. 4 days later, candidate calls me and said, I just want to let you know I got in. I said, I know, I've been sitting on it. And he said, I just want to say thank you. I say, no, the gratitude does not go to me. The applause goes to you because you use your network. If you had not picked up the phone to call me, you would have had a markedly different outcome in your aspiration to matriculate at that institution. He said, oh, but it was so hard to call and admit something could be wrong with my application. I said, you know how highly I think of you. Short of you dropping your pants on the Brooklyn Bridge, there's nothing that's going to make me think any differently about you. I have put myself in your way to be used. Ladies and gentlemen, if someone has put themselves in your way to be used, use them. Use them. And do not be preoccupied with worrying about what you can do to pay that person back. There will be ample opportunity for you to pay that person back, but more importantly, for you to pay it forward with your currency the next time around. Winners, they may ask when and how, they never ask if, because they know how the story ends. Every class that you have had, every relationship that you have or you have had, every experience that you have had has uniquely informed your ability to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. If you expect to win your college, you will. I thank you, and the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Adam.
Hi, Adam.
I'm a college junior student. I'm also the treasurer of student government. One question. You talked about the 3 adjectives, and you talked about only one that you practice, which is being tough. Do you want to share with us the other 2?
Absolutely. So, and that's a great question, Adam. And because your adjectives will change over time. As I said, what got you there won't keep you there. And when I was a first-year associate, it was important for me to be tough. And let me just also add, that tough thing really did bother me because that's authentically who I am. And you heard me say that authenticity is your competitive advantage. So when that person said that, it was also a wake-up call to me that the real Carla was not walking in every day. That somehow I had lost my voice, and I obviously had lost my confidence because whoever that was not the real me. So it was important for me to recalibrate and make sure that my authentic self was walking to the table. So walking to the table every day. So back then, it was tough, it was analytical and quantitative, and it was detail-oriented. Today, it's tough because I don't want them to be confused. Right? It's commercial, and it's also fair. Okay? Because I'm a managing director, right? So what do they value? Somebody who can bring in business, right? And fair, because I have people working for me, and I want the people who work with me and for me to realize that I have their back and that I'm fair. Because whenever people know that you have their back as someone who's in authority, they will give you 150%. And I always want the extra. I don't want the job description. We got here, then I'm coming to you. Yeah, right here. Greg, let me take her, then I'll come to you. Yes. Take who? Right here. Go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Swati Holtz. I am a senior here and a political science major. You had said your voice is your heart. Your voice is your heart of your power. Could you explain a little bit more what you meant?
Yes, your voice is at the heart of your power. It is important that whenever you are in an organization, that people hear what you have to say. People can't just assume that you're smart. They just can't assume that you're a superstar. You can't just say, well, they know that I went to York College and I did really well. They ought to assume that I'm smart. So you have to make sure that they hear you. And the more that the organization hears you, the more they will solicit your voice. And so often, especially women, so often we don't say things, especially when things aren't going well. We suffer in silence. Or if we have a really provocative idea, we'll sit in a meeting and say, oh, I'm not going to say that. Peter just said that. Oh, well, Greg just said, sounds a lot. Well, I'm not going to say anything. And then before you know it, meeting after meeting after meeting, you haven't said anything. And then the organization, there's a 50-50 shot that they think you're smart, a 50-50 shot that they think you're stupid. And you can't take those risks, right? So you have to make sure that they hear you. And especially around managing your career. There is one person, with all due respect to my human resources colleagues that are in the room, there is only one person that has responsibility for your career, and that's you. It's not human resources' job to make sure you're getting the right kind of assignments. It's not human resources' job to make sure you're getting the right type of training. You should make sure that you are clear on what it takes to ascend in your organization, and then you say, hey, you say that you guys value analytical skills and presentation skills and organizational skills. Well, I got the organization piece. I haven't done any presentations. You think I can be on an assignment so that I can get some practice on that? You know, that kind of thing. So, because I don't want to have a deficit when it's time for promotion and you say I haven't done that. Right? You have to ask. That's exercising your voice. Yes, Greg.
Carla, thank you for being as candid and generous today as you were 30 years ago when I first met you.
Yeah.
I just want for you to share, if you will, oftentimes successful people, particularly corporately successful people, don't talk about personal relationships. And I know that you in particular have been in a very successful personal relationship with your husband. And I'd like you to talk just for half a second about what that's done for you, how it's restored you on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely, that's a great question. And Greg, you know, he just told you guys 30 years. I was gonna try to keep that down. Anyway, no, I love this guy. I mean, we have known each other for 30 years. So Greg is right. I've been married to my husband for 13 years, and I'm glad you brought that up because none of us does it alone. Right? None of us does it alone. And having somebody that you can share, again, the intimate details of what's going on with your career, and somebody that's going to look you in the eye, let you complain, but then say, go get them, girl. Because they know you, is really, really important. It allows you to fill up again, if you will. Or somebody who's going to look at you and say, no, you were wrong on that one. You know, and give you that good sanity check. So having a good relationship, and let me say that again, having a good relationship in your life is important. And I want to stress that because so often we compromise on that. And I'm going to say ladies, and I'm not going to be sexist, gentlemen also, but ladies in particular, do not compromise on that because there is nothing worse if you are a professional person and you're having real troubles and trials and challenges at home. Your home should be your sanctuary. It should be where you can just let it all hang out. It should be where you can cry. It should be where you can be insecure. It should be where you can fill it up again. And if you don't have that kind of comfort level at home, then I'm going to say it again. Next. There is only one you, and you should be treasured and honored. So please, I know sometimes it's hard to be out there on your own, but at the margin, that's better than having to tug on you the other way. And I've known my husband since I was 12 years old. Yeah, and he went to the Army, I went to Harvard, and then 15 years later, our paths crossed again. I never thought, this was the guy that took me to my senior prom in high school. And so I never thought in a million years that this would be the guy that I would marry. And when we ran back into each other, you know, I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. You know, and I sort of say to him, well, you know, this is nice that we got this date and everything, but you know, I don't do retreads, brother. I don't do retreads. And he said to me, Carla, that's why God invented steering wheels so people could take U-turns. And he got it. He got it. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alistine Clark Sutton. I am a former employee of Morgan Stanley. And I know Carla Harris for many, many years. She has been my mentor. She closed the door, close that door. And let me tell you what you have to do. She Send me off to college, your college. Find a school and let me know. And every time, are you going? Yes. And I can say today she's a tough woman. When there were promotions and I did not see her on the promotion list, I said, oh dear, this lady, she's worked so hard, she's so consistent. But guess what? The time was not yet. But the time came, and now she's a bloom at Morgan Stanley. And I am so happy to see you today, Carla. I'm very, very happy. And I remember the day of my graduation, she came right here, just to see that I graduated. And I want to thank you. And because of her inspiration, I have gone on and done so very well. Currently, I'm at the VA, right here at St. Albans, in administration. And because of her inspiration of saying, go higher, higher, take your education, take your skills, take your mentors, and they'll take you to the next level. I was able to complete my master's in healthcare administration. What I have learned, and students, do your best. What you have learned today, add it to your resume, add it to your heart, and put purpose with it, and you will succeed. Amen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Simone Price. I actually have two questions for you. The first question is, as I went sat in you all's seat as students at undergraduate university or college, but oftentimes I find that students are trying to find their way after college. They don't necessarily know what career path that they want to take. But can you speak to some things like outside of just working hard, some things that they should focus on as they're trying to find their way, even if they're going from perhaps like a nonprofit field to a corporate, the corporate sector? And the second question is you spoke about perception and being able to sort of alter that in like 90 days, but what happens when you walk into an organization right out of college and you have like a learning curve, and in that learning curve people perceive you a certain way, but then you now know your role, you know your position well, and you want to change that, but it seems too late?
Okay, so let me start with the second one first. Okay. It's never too late to do that. And it may take you, if you've been in the organization for a period of time, it may take you 2 quarters as opposed to 1 quarter to change it. Because if the organization is already starting to think of you in a certain way, it's going to take a little bit to shift them out of that mindset. So your consistency has to be for a minimum of 2 quarters. But once you know the job, it's not just enough to know the job. You have to remember, you got to make sure you know what they value, right? So just because you're good at doing the job doesn't mean that they're going to say, oh, you're fabulous, but maybe they value somebody who is resourceful. They can go and find information or find out what they need anyway. Maybe they value somebody who has relationships, so you want to talk a lot about your network. So you still have to ask yourself, what is value? And go to somebody and say, you know what, I've only been here for about 6 months, and I still can't quite figure this out. How would you describe a superstar in this environment? And they're going to start to use adjectives to describe that superstar. And then you say, well, how do you describe somebody who just doesn't make it? The last 5 people who got kicked out of here, you know, give me their profile. And that will give you a sense of somebody in authority, how they are thinking about a success story and how they're thinking about somebody who wipes out. Pay attention to the adjectives, because now that's how you want to calibrate your behavior. As far as figuring out what you want to do, I just finished my 2nd book, and I wrote a whole chapter, especially for younger folks, because I've come in contact with so many young folks who can't quite figure it out. And here's my advice. You all should not be thinking about having a 25 or 30-year career in one place. That was what the generation before you aspired to. That was the definition of success. You should be thinking of 5 to 6 modules of 5. So assuming you're going to work for 30 years, you got 6 modules of 5, and you may choose to do 2 of those modules in the same place. And that is if you aspire to work for a leader. And here's my thesis. Very few companies will be committed to maintaining their leadership, because in order to maintain leadership going forward, you will have to be doggedly committed to innovation and reinvention. And there are very few companies that are going to commit that financial resource, that people resource, that technological resource to maintain that leadership. So by definition, if you want to work for a leader, you're probably going to have to move around. So you should be thinking about the content of your job. So don't get nutty if you're a senior and you're like, oh gosh, I really don't know what I want to do. I know it feels like a lot of pressure, but ask yourself, what content do I like? Do I like technology? Do I like finance? Do I think I want to learn about brand management and marketing? So get a job that's going to give you some of that content and put together a resume of skills and experiences that you can sell to a number of different resources. And I feel the president here, so I think she's saying that's it.
Set of pearls. We have heard some precious pearls this morning from Carla Harris. Expect to win. The students who ask those questions expect to get a copy of Expect to Win. Really, so delighted to have you with us. We have a little gift for you, a little gift bag from our student government leader, Mr. Amin. Thank you so much. And Michelle, Congressman Meeks came in while you were here. Do you want to come up, Greg, Congressman, and just say a word or two to close us out, and then I'll just have maybe a 30-second promo, ladies and gentlemen. Right, great. Thank you so much for coming to join us. Say a word or two. You haven't been here in a while, and we mentioned that you were a first speaker at the Executive Leadership Breakfast back in 2005.
Well, thank you. I just couldn't miss Carla. You know, when I happened to be in New York and I saw Carla was here, let me tell you, because her reputation is huge. It's global. It's not just here in New York City or just here in the state of New York. It's global. When I talk to individuals, I sit on the Financial Services Committee in Washington, D.C., and we start talking about who's the movers and shakers and what do you want to figure out or how you want to find out what's going on Wall Street and who would you want to carry the ball and move it. Carla's name is the one that comes up on a consistent basis. And so when I heard, and you know, the books that she have written, you know, my daughter's reading them. And so to know the inspiration that she provides to so many people, I just want to come by here just to see her and to say thank you for all that you do on behalf of not only your company, but for all of us to make people think at higher heights and know that there's nothing that they cannot accomplish. Thank you so very much. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. March 31st, especially to our young people, March 31st is the deadline. If you have not signed up for health care yet, Affordable Care Act, it is especially important for young people to make sure that you have health care. You never know when you're going to need it. And the cost of health care under the Affordable Care Act is less than many of your telephone bills, your cell phone bills. So put your health and or talking on the phone on the line. Make sure that you signed up. And if you haven't, sign up. And if you have, then talk to your friends, talk to your siblings, and make sure. Because otherwise, you have a year to wait. March 31st is the deadline. Let's get together. Don't limit your thinking. Carla is global. And that's where we are now. We're global. We should be in the engine, not coming back on the caboose. Think global, and you'll be successful. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting us this morning. We just want to do one other promo, March 25th, our Women's History Month celebration. We have our phenomenal trustee, Frida Foster, and others who are going to be coming to talk about some of the challenges. They'll be talking using the talking point of lean in. So join us on that day. Thank you so much, everyone. Ms. Harris, again, thank you for being here this morning. Have a great day, folks.